Hey everybody, it's your girl Pajama with Pajama Life, and we have an extra special treat today. We have John Baldasare, the director of original movies and series co-production at Paramount Global, and with that means BET, and has produced over 70 movies and TV series for BET and BET Plus across multiple genres. He's a seasoned movie and television executive focusing on Black, female, and LGBTQ storytelling. And some of his content includes movies like Karen, The Reading, and TV series such as The Black Hamptons and The Family Business. But we share a love of diverse Christmas movies, and he's produced some of my recent favorites, such as Rolling Into Christmas and this year's Soulfly Christmas and a Westlake Christmas Wedding. He's doing it for the culture, y'all. Let's welcome John Baldasare. Hey, John.
Hey, nice to see everybody. Thank you for that intro. It makes me feel bigger than I think I am,
Oh,
but I appreciate
you're
it.
a
It
big
sounds
wig.
great.
That's right.
And we are so happy that you're here to talk to us today about you and some of what you do as a producer at BET and talking about our favorite Christmas movie. So tell us, you've been in the business a long time. How did you get your start?
Actually, I was working in finance when I got out of college, very different, and I kind of got sick of it and I left. And I knew somebody who actually worked for VH1 in the late 90s and got involved in television there. And I worked for Paramount Global for about 13 or 14 years. And then I moved over to AMC and I worked there for a handful of years. And then I came back about 7 or 8 years ago to Paramount Global. So I've worked for many different brands. I've worked for pop culture brands, African American brands, female brands, LGBTQ brands, general entertainment brands. But a large part of my tenure and producing has been Black focused, probably 10, 15 years of it. And we started making movies about 7 years ago. So we never really made movies before at BET.
Wow. So what drew you to the BET brand?
My boss at VH1 had went over to TV1, which is a small cable network, and she worked there for many years. And I worked at WeTV, which is mostly focused on females, excuse me, but had a strong African American audience as well. And then she left and worked at BET, and I left, and she said, "Hey, wait, I kind of want you here with me." So I got a job at BET about 8 years ago, and we worked together. And then a year or so into my tenure, I'm doing something a little bit different. I had a new boss named Larissa Bates, who's my current boss currently. And we decided, hey, we're so sick of getting these movies in to acquire that weren't really fitting the bar, that we were
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, if Lifetime and Hallmark can do it, why can't we? So
Right.
that's when we decided, hey, we're gonna try this out, and here we are, a ton of
Wow.
movies later. So it's worked, and the reception has been really tremendous. So we're very thankful.
Well, and I can see why from just seeing these particular films. I had a chance when Pam told me the good news that we were going to have a chance to chat with you. I did a little bit of homework and I got some popcorn and I sat down and watched a couple of your movies. Certainly there's some stories that kind of really feel like you're right in the moment, in the times, as it were, with what's going on. And uh, what kind of draws you to a particular topic? And what's the process for designing some of these really, I think, very well done films?
Well, thank you. First of all, there's a few tenets we always look at. So we're looking at story, we're
Mhm.
looking at if it's authentic, and what genre fits in, and if it's unique. So those are the kind of the tenets we look at first.
Mhm.
Once we get there, then we basically flesh out the story with the production company to make it feel like it has the voice that we need to have. and that we have a budget that we can fit into getting the right actors for, because we don't have
Mhm.
tons of money. Um, so it's really it's a huge process, but we always start with story and authenticity. Once we have those two things and uniqueness, then we kind of can move on and we can craft it. And sometimes we come up with ideas like you mentioned, rolling into Christmas. That's actually a
Mhm.
story by me. You probably saw it
Oh
on the
my
credit.
goodness.
Yeah, so we
Oh,
knew
that's
that
great.
roller skating was very culturally embedded in the Black community for many years. I used to roller
Yep.
skate as a kid.
Yep.
We know that it's kind of the place to see and be seen, and dating starts
Mhm.
there. And so we were like, how do we do this?
Mm.
And I'm Italian American, so I grew up, watching Saturday Night Live, and it was this fish out of water that he, came into this world of, at the time, discos. And I was like, well,
Yep.
can we do the same thing, but with Christmas and roller skating and make it kind of unique for our audience? And that's how Rolling Into Christmas actually came into being. So I actually have we come up internally with a few ideas. I have a handful of story by credits because, sometimes you have to look inward, other than looking
Mhm.
outward. So we look inward as well as we get tons of pitches from production companies.
Now, a part of what we do on our show is are looking at book to movie adaptations. So I was curious. I see a lot of your content, like the Black Hamptons and the Family Business and Influences, are all coming from books. I think Carl Weber's books, and then some other ones. Tiffany Warren with Family Son Christmas. Is that how? What makes a book good to adapt to a movie? What are the components that would make a book a good adaptation?
Well, it takes a lot. It depends on the genre you're working on. So, for
Mhm.
example, Favorite Son, right? We knew that we wanted to get more into the faith-based world. So we
Mm.
knew that that book not only did have faith, but it had music, which BETs have been
Mhm.
embedded with forever. So we put a lot of music. The Christmas Ringer dropped yesterday. Favorite Son
Yep.
Christmas is basically a musical when you watch it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
chock filled. So we knew that the more music we put in, the better the outcome it's going to be. So we kind of knew the tenets of it. And then we took another Tiffany Tiffany Warren book, The Sound of Christmas, was a book that was entitled something else, The Wife Something. And I was like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, this is The Sound of Music. Like, this is what this book is. And that's
Mhm.
very transferable. No one's done it in the Black space, no one's done it in the Christmas space. So we kind of like twisted it a little bit. So
Mm.
as long as the bones are there within a book,
Mhm.
particularly if the book is well received. Like Carl Weber has multiple chapters of family business.
Mhm.
He actually came to us with the idea of the Black Hamptons. So we
Mm.
actually created the show first and he created the book after.
Oh, wow.
So we
Ah,
actually are
okay.
reverse engineering it as well. Once we find an offer, we
Okay.
can come, if they come up with a good idea, we can try to make it a movie and then they can write a book. But usually to your
Ah.
point, it's the other way around. Like
Right.
even the biopic that we did with Tay Diggs, which is Elena
Mhm.
Playboy, that's based off of a real life story, but it's also based off of a book. So we based
Mhm.
our version of it off of a book.
Right.
So it really depends on like, is the book kind of resonating in the Black culture? Is it easily transferable? Does it have the beats that can follow a movie? Is it juicy enough? Is it interesting enough? Can we
Mhm.
play with it within the genres that are important to our audience?
Right.
But you
And
said
one
something
thing
that really Oh, go ahead, Pam, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say one thing that resonates with me is that the content that you're producing and creating seems to be more elevated. It's not just trauma stories. It seems to be things about different parts of Black culture. With the Black Hamptons, it's a look at wealthy Black life, and all of your movies, the Christmas movies, the characters have significant jobs, or leaders in the industry trying to find something. And so, that's something that I really appreciate because I'm a little tired of, drug dealing stories or, shoot 'em ups or, down and out people. I want to also see Black joy in the story.
Correct.
So, That's
And that is
something
a
I've noticed with BT movies.
Yes, that's a tenant that we're always looking at. So we've, like we said, we started looking with my boss and myself and going, hey, wait a minute. We're seeing trauma stories. We're seeing the struggle. We're seeing a certain depiction of life that could be stereotypical. We're seeing things that are exhausting to our audience. And it's exhausting to any minority audience that feels like they're getting the same story by the same view of life. And we made it a very conscious decision to say, wait a minute, that's not all stories. Let's show the fabric of what's out there. Let's expand it. So most of our stories reflect real life.
Hmm.
And we also know that our audience is really tired of the ultra rich and the ultra poor.
Right.
Yes, sometimes it makes for good fun in the Black Hamptons, but aside from that, most of our content is average everyday people that are normally middle class, um, that just kind of tell an interesting story for our audience. We would love to do as much as possible, but we all have budgets and parameters, and we also have to go with the numbers. And there's certain
Right.
genres within our network that just work a little bit better than others.
Uh-huh. Hmm. Go ahead, David.
Well, and I was going to ask 1,000 questions, but I want to be concise with you. When you're looking at a particular story, let's take for example, you'd mentioned like a book, for instance, and you said where sometimes it's more meatier than others. How hard is it to kind of cut when you've got a book, or kind of keep that story and to put it into that 2-hour time frame with commercials that kind of normally fits within the normal the average TV movie kind of time frame?
It depends on the book. I mean, we haven't done a tremendous amount in the movie space because books can, to your point, feel like they need multiple episodes. So, for
Yeah.
example, when we did Atlanta Playboy, we made it two movies because we felt like there was just too much to talk.
Right.
When
Right.
Family Business actually came to us, a little known fact is it was shot as two or three movies. So it
Okay.
came to
Ah.
us, something that we didn't fully develop. Carl came to us. They were working on this movie with a production company. We were like, this movie's great. They were going to make two movies or three movies out of it. We said, wait a minute, don't do that. We think this could be a limited series. We created a limited series. That's season one. And then it rolled on. Same thing with Black Hamptons. People were crying out, what happened? Why is this canceled? And it was like, it was never intended to be a series. It was intended to wet your whistle and get you kind of interested in kind of a little bit of a movie here or a bunch of mini series. So
Uh-huh.
David, that's kind of where we go when we feel
Got
like a movie
gotcha.
is really big. But there are certain movies that you can do very contained.
Hmm.
And not everything that we've done. The vast majority of things that we've done are not based off of books.
Yeah.
They're fully fictional. But
Yeah.
yeah, it depends on you don't want to delude the content by just kind of
Hmm.
cramming it into 2 hours.
Right.
So it really depends.
It's such a balancing act, and you see when it's done well. You kind of remember also when it's not done well with things like Dune in 1984 might be a good example. They tried to do too much in a very short window, as an example.
Hmm.
Oh, that's very
Now,
exciting,
is
though, the
there
collaboration and work you're doing.
something that is too risky for BET to make it to a series or into a movie?
Most of my work is movies. We have a whole
Mhm.
great scripted and unscripted series department. So, for example, like Black Hamptons and The Family Business, me and my boss worked on that very first miniseries, and then once it got greenlit, it moves over to our unscripted folks, and they do all the other seasons after that. They keep us in the loop, and we advise because it started with us, but for the most part, like they completely take over all of that. They do Kingdom Business and Miss Pat and all that. We have so much work with the movies that we just basically focus on the movies. I would love to do anything bigger. We really, really, really want to get back into the music biopic space that we were really successful in a little
Mm,
while ago with New Edition
Hmm.
and Bobby Brown. But
Right.
as everybody knows, the marketplace is really challenged. financially, viewership, people cutting the cord. So, we're trying to get there, and I think our goal is hopefully to get there. But that's the thing that I really think that is just so connected to BET that it would be wonderful if we actually got there.
Yeah.
So, do you see BET moving into maybe international stories like on the diaspora, or maybe some sci fi or horror or some of those kind of genres up next for the network?
Yeah, so we're pushing the boundaries. When we started many years ago, we tested everything. And we landed on, a lot of different types of thrillers, obviously Christmas.
Mm.
We're starting to do a lot more in faith, as we mentioned, we had success in faith. And then after kind of the reading and some of the other smaller horror movies, we're considering horror much more than we have in the past. And we actually had our first action movie in Call Her King. About
Hmm.
5 or 6 months ago. You should watch it. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. We're doing another action movie coming up that'll premiere in early 25. So we're starting to get there. We know that there's 100 years of cinema with all different genres that we know our audience likes, but we have to kind of test them a little bit to kind of make sure
Right.
that we're walking in the right space, and we have to do them smartly because there's a lot of like I think there could be a lot of Black trauma oriented horror that no one wants to do.
Mm.
I don't want to. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to walk in that space. And we also know, um, most Black people do not put themselves in a path of fear based situations. They're the first one
We're
out
not
of
trying
there.
to run towards the
No, they're
werewolf
not
or the
even. They're
Dracula.
like,
We're trying
no,
to run
that's
them
right. Like you're not going to stick around and wait for the killer to come and kill you, right? You're out. So
Yeah, you
we're
hear
not.
that?
We're not.
Shh, shh, shh,
So
I'm like, see you
yeah,
later, boy.
that's right.
Turn the
So we
car
need to be
around,
smart
dummy.
enough. We have to be smart enough to know, like, this is how our audience is going to react. This is how we would react, as a culture and as a people. Like, this is what we're going to do. So that takes care of that. Nixes like 75% of the scripts we get. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah,
so we have to be more intelligent at that. That's why the reading was so interesting because you're stuck in a situation you did not put yourself into.
right.
Um, and I think that's why Get Out was so great, right? You kind of put
Huh?
yourself in the situation that you can't get out of. So those are the things that we just, if we're gonna do it, just like a music biopic or anything that we're gonna do that's special, action, whatever, I want to do it right. Like I'd rather take my time, get it done, kind of wow the audience instead of kind of like some other platforms just pop out content left
Yeah,
and right, and that's great for them, but it doesn't feel special to me.
Mm.
right. And let's go to the Christmas movies because we love them. We're getting ready to do a whole month of reviews of them. And but lately there seems to be Hallmark did some more diverse and inclusive, and Lifetime was doing some more diverse and inclusive, and then
Mm.
came like a big backlash about the inclusivity around the Christmas movies. And so I wanted to know your thoughts about the kind of backlash and kind of flip around maybe these movies being too woke in some instances and causing some networks some trouble. And so how is BET addressing inclusivity in their Christmas movies?
I mean, it's unfortunate that what's going through Hollywood the last few years is happening because everybody wants a voice at the table. I think what you
Mhm.
always start with is, does this story is this story authentically, and then insert what you want to do, right? Is it
Mhm.
authentically Black? Is it authentic Latino? Is it authentically LGBT? If it's not,
Mhm.
you need to move on. And I think what's
Right.
happening is they're just not doing that. A lot of these other platforms are taking kind of general entertainment scripts and ideas and just inserting people of color or
Mhm.
minority people into these scripts, not even thinking about, does it match who this person is? Does it match the
Mm.
culture? Would they say it this way?
Right.
Would they act this way? Does the story
Mhm.
resonate with this culture? So I think part of the hiccups that you're seeing with some of the other networks is that they're having a hard time understanding this particular audience. And I'm just speaking from an African American perspective. They're
Mhm.
having a hard time understanding it and thinking, well, if I just do these three things, that equals a Black audience. And I'm like, no, it does not.
Right.
It takes
Right.
a lot more, and it
Right.
takes authenticity. And the one thing that BET prides itself on, you see myself as a white male, but I would say 90 to 95% of every single writer and producer and director on our movies are Black. And
Mm.
I would say out of that, 60 to 70% are women. So what you don't
Wow.
see is what's happening behind the scenes. So you can just
Mhm.
Google any one of our movies and you'll
Mhm.
see
Mhm.
tons of directors and writers and production companies that are fully Black owned. And we do that specifically. We are not trying to shoehorn and put people in front of the camera. And then when you turn the camera around, it's a completely different story. We do not do that
Right.
um, at all. So
Mhm.
and we've tested, general entertainment production companies, and if they don't bring it, it's just us, they don't make the cut. So
Mhm.
you have to hire the right people all the time, and I think that's kind of the hiccup with Hollywood. They're just not thinking too hard. They're just I think it's a widget a lot of
Right.
times.
Right. Mhm. Yeah, and I've seen that in different, just since I've been doing the I mean the holiday movie reviews. Some of them you like, what? What is this about? But I really have enjoyed what you all are doing over at BET Plus, because they are like authentic stories that you can see realistic things happening. And the action one this year, Sworn Justice, was really entertaining. So I'm hoping for more kind of uh die hard, like, action holiday movie type things, and some different, types of genres mixed in with the holiday. David, you
You're
had
gonna
a
like
question?
Caller King. You're gonna like Caller
Yeah,
King,
I saw
Pam.
Collar King, and
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
just like, what? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good action and
And
good
we didn't spend
female action.
Yeah, and we didn't spend a lot of money. Like all of our movies, we do on a budget. So,
Hmm.
we try to make everything look much, much bigger than it really is.
Hmm.
And these are the things that we're testing. Like you said, Sworn Justice was a test. Um, you know, Color King was a big test. But we're always testing to see where we land. And sometimes the audience tells us, like, no, I want this over here.
Hmm.
And, there's a reason why, Tubi and Lifetime and certain networks that really draw like a nice Black audience. It's a reason why they do certain things. Like there's
Right.
there's numbers behind it. And when people say, well, John, I would love to see this, and it's not part of what we're doing,
Hmm.
my whole thing is show up, have your
Uh-huh.
people show up. Like you're
Hmm.
only going to get what you want when you show up,
Yeah.
and either pay with your dollars or pay with your eyeballs. Like
Hmm.
otherwise we only give you what the data tells us. So like
Ah.
a lot of people like to complain like, oh, I never see this and I never see that. Well, if you don't buy BET Plus or you don't watch the content, we only go
Mhm.
by the people that watch the content.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's your best way of voting for what
Hmm.
you want.
Well
So get
said.
out there and
Well said.
subscribe to BET Plus, y'all.
Well,
I did my subscription. Get out there and subscribe.
And this is the best time of the year if you like Christmas movies,
Yeah.
aside from, Hallmark and Lifetime, and Lifetime is actually declining in their Christmas offering year over year. We offer, obviously, a full Black cast in every single one of our movies, but we have probably the most robust amount of holiday movies, original movies that are not being bought by the marketplace than any other platform. So if you like holiday movies and you like Black movies, I think BET Plus, at least this time of year, could be a nice gift.
I
Mhm.
would say so.
Mhm.
And I tell you, if you like good stories, you like good
Yeah.
acting, you like good characters, you want to watch these films because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, these are good stories that grab your attention and entertain you. And John, I just think you and your team are doing a superb job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And we work on all of our movies. I mean, there's a handful of acquisitions that we buy from the marketplace,
Hmm.
but we work hard on all of them. We really care,
It
and I
shows.
appreciate that because we take every movie, regardless of the size of the budget, we treat respectfully and carefully,
Yeah.
and we want to make it special. And to your point, as Pam was saying earlier, like our job is entertain. you know a lot of people are tired at the end of the day. Life is hard sometimes. People just want a little bit of fun and entertainment and popcorn, and that's what our job is. We're not working overtime to
Yeah.
make you think about something. There's enough negative stuff in life to
Yeah.
make you think about.
Mhm.
And when we do something that's heavier, we have a movie coming out that's a really big movie in February called Kimba. It's based off of Kimba Smith. It's out hitting the film festival circuit currently.
Good.
Kimba Smith was wrongly accused in the 90s, and was pardoned by Bill Clinton in 2000. And we did a biopic on her.
Oh.
So that has a social justice bent to it. It's very well made. It's excellent. It's almost award winning. Um, and that's something that is a little left from the pure popcorn. But
Mhm.
we kind of dig into that once in a blue moon because we know that sometimes you have to give people a little bit of an understanding of what's happening in life, and
Right.
trying to not to repeat the sins of the past, and
Right.
shining the light on an important story.
Yeah. And
That sounds great.
sometimes you got to get a little medicine with some sugar in it. So,
Once in a blue moon, yeah, once in a blue moon.
well, our final question, I mean, we could just talk to you all day. It's so interesting.
Right.
But we want to be mindful of your time. Is something about you. What is a movie or TV show that changed your life and made you want to do something creative?
Oh God, that's so hard. So when I was little, I knew I wanted to be in television because I was the age that Brady Bunch was what we watched as kids,
Yep.
Sure.
and me and my sister, she hated it, and I liked Brady Bunch, and I would say, well, if we can ever figure out whoever can figure out what this episode is about first gets to watch whatever's on TV because we only had it on television.
There you go.
So if I won, I got to watch the Brady Bunch, and then if she won, she watched whatever she wanted. So I knew at that point in time I wanted to do something um, in the television, and then just kind of, I am LGBTQ, so like knowing the impact that like Will and Grace had, and the
Mm.
Right.
impact that certain tenets of shows, like from the Cosby shows to Martin to Scandal to other things that were really kind of giving an audience that never got anything something,
Yeah.
and something that could change the world, as simple as the Jeffersons.
Yes.
um, Anything that can just change the world. What people forget is when you invite content in your personal space, it's the probably the biggest thing that can change you. You can fight all day about something to somebody, but for some reason that TV show that resonates,
Yeah.
that movie kind of brings people together, and then we kind of move the ball forward, and that's helped me. And I love humor, so when there's
Yeah.
humor involved in it, it's kind of even better, which is
Yeah.
why SoFly was so much fun. And
Oh my
you know
goodness. So
you you
fun.
you may see a little crossover next year, a little bit,
Ooh.
a
Oh,
little
a
bit,
little
a little
teaser.
bit, a
All
little
Yeah.
right.
bit.
I mean, they just look like they were having so much fun.
I
Just
think they
like us.
were.
I mean, that one is definitely check it out. And John, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us here today. It's such a special honor to have you here with us. And definitely check out our Pajama Life. We're on YouTube and we do weekly reviews of TV and movies and whatever else we want. And this this month especially, we're doing our diverse holiday movie reviews. And so we appreciate everything that you're doing with BET and Paramount Global. And we wish you all the success in all of your endeavors.
Thank you
Absolutely.
both.
Happy holidays, man.
Happy holidays to you both. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And as we say, take care.